Hi guys, and welcome to day number 6 of my YouTube challenge. Today is part 1 of my own spiritual journey. So when did it start that I became interested in spirituality, or let's say holistic treatments? So back in school, when I was about to graduate, I was 18, 19, I got these really bad panic attacks. So I almost couldn't graduate because of this, and I just kicked myself out there for these tests, and I made it somehow. But I started to get these really intense and weird panic attacks. Like I was sitting in the room, in the classroom, or when we were studying, all of a sudden I just felt overwhelmed. My heartbeat increased and I was sweating, and it was like I don't belong here, I need to run out. And yeah, it got worse and worse because no one really could help me. You know, the GP in Germany as well, they you get a prescription for several drugs and they make it even worse. So yeah, it got to that point where I couldn't drive a car, I couldn't drive the bus, or when I was visiting the rest of my family or friends, I couldn't take the train. So I was quite stuck at home. I stayed at home and I missed like birthday parties, and everyone was going out. Like, you know, we were 18, 19, everyone was celebrating, going out. I couldn't, or I tried to, but it was really not good. Like crowded places and everything, I put myself pressure on, just didn't happen. So the GP checked me from the top to the toes, like everything, and he said I'm fine. My body is like in a really high stress level. So but that's because of the panic attacks. I mean, if I don't want to kill myself, I should stop and take these drugs. But I tried 2 days or 3 days, I can't remember, and then I had a nervous breakdown and I just throwed everything away and took care of myself. And I found a naturopath, and he, you know, the first time, and you're very young, you pay for all this stuff. I mean, my parents supported me, but you were kind of lost, and everyone was in a shock. What shall we do? Because I was always the opposite, going out a lot and having lots of friends and having a happy life. So yeah, anyway, I found this naturopath. He did the first Reiki treatments with me, like energy work, cleaning, cleansing my body. And he told me, just close your eyes, relax, and just set the intention to release the fear, the deep fear you have of anything. And it went quite well. And he gave me some homeopathic pills and drops, and well, we worked the way through. I started yoga with 18. I was at that point, because it was not so common, not so well, no one did yoga in my age, to be honest. So I was the first young spirit in that group. And first of all, it was for me to stay the whole 90 minutes in that room and not freaking out and not running away. And it sounds ridiculous, it sounds really crazy, but that was how I was in that age. So and then I took all the medication, like the natural stuff, and I had treatments, Reiki, and then the yoga, and I moved on from this quite quickly, so I could drive again. And I graduated, so I finished that. And with all these different types of treatment, energy work, the naturopath with the homeopathic treatments, I completely had to change my mindset. I met the right people. My yoga teacher, she was something else. Like, she helped me out, gave me lots of recommendations, and then of course, I mean, my friends helped, but they couldn't really understand what was going on. And all this energy work shifted my mindset. I was very young, but I felt so wise at that moment. And yeah, I booked treatments for physiotherapy because my body was a mess after all these panic and after all these anxieties I've been through. So I got a prescription for physiotherapy, and that was the time, I was waiting after I graduated, and I wanted to study journalism, and I wanted to work for TV, radio, or in and everyone wanted to do and study journalism, media at that point, because the place I come from in Germany is crazy about media, and they like Cologne is the town for media, and that time everyone wanted to go to the TV shows or studying journalism. So it was quite a bad time too, and I had to wait a very long time for a spot where I could study. And I was still in my energy shift my whole life. So I decided, while I was doing this physiotherapy, I met a good friend, and he was so obsessed, and he was so happy, and he told me, whatever you're doing right now, you are kind of a person with people, and if you can't get into university, just give it a try, and maybe you want to study physiotherapy because there's a new school, it's private, and this and that. So yeah, and end of story, I ended up in that private school. That was fate, because there was no spot left. It was really expensive, so I had to sit down with my dad and talk about the price and everything. But the first time I was so into something, I was so happy, because I was so looking forward to get educated in that area, because the naturopath told me, we were very close at some point, because I spent so much time there, and he really helped me, and he could see, I mean, he saved my life at some point, because I really didn't know where else to go. So the plan was naturopath, but in Germany you have to be 25 at least to graduate. So, and then I met my friend at the physiotherapy practice. So I was like, okay, I start from that point, and then I walk my way through. So I didn't wait any longer for any spot for university. I was working at a radio station at that time, so I finished my job there. I quit because I had to jump right in that private school, because there was a spot free all of a sudden. Someone was injured and she couldn't do her education anymore. So I was really lucky, because they called me. I was on a waiting list. They called, and you have to start on Monday, and it was Friday afternoon. So we had to get the money together, and it was quite, it was a really crazy time. But my parents, I think they just realized how much I was into it. And I made a business plan and then spreadsheets and like a PowerPoint presentation to my dad. And I'm like, we do this and that. And I can pay this amount. And, I was a waitress. And if I do clients in between, because we had to learn and practice anyways. And I can do this. Or we could do this. And it happened. And studying physiotherapy in the Netherlands while doing the education as a physiotherapist in Germany, which is kind of a connected thing you can do, was the best thing I've ever done. And that was not really my spiritual awakening, but that was the first that was the first thing happening to shifted my mindset for myself, because I was in a really desperate situation and I thought, that's it. And luckily I get out of that situation. So thank you very much to all naturopath, homeopath, Reiki practitioners, everyone who is into holistic treatments or even holistic coachings, how to get people out of that situation. So I wanted to be like this. I wanted to help other people like people helped me at that time. And I dropped everything, went to physiotherapy school, and that was my first thing on my journey. So you stay tuned, because there are more steps coming. I hope you enjoyed that video, kind of something personal. So how people get to do what they do, and I love what I do, helping people. And that was my story, the beginning of my story, how I started to shift my mindset and go in the right direction. Have a nice day. I see you tomorrow. Bye.